Poor old Sargeras. You know, he probably feels like Zovaal has pulled the rug out from under him, right? I mean, he's no longer the big bad, and now what? He's been played, he's in prison, the Legion failed. Is that it from WoW's original bad boy? I would say hell no. I would say Sargeras is locked away, but he's almost surely set to return. And with all we're going to talk about today, all that has happened in the lore that does surround Sargeras since we last saw him, with all that's happened, I reckon things are going to be very different. And you know, maybe being locked away like that could be a good thing for Sargeras. Especially if he had a whole lot of anime to watch with today's sponsor, crunchyroll.com/Bellular, which is where you will get a 14-day free trial of premium. Now, here is the deal, right? Once every few years, a fantastic manga makes its way over to TV and kind of explodes. Last year, it was Jujutsu Kaisen's turn, and rightly so. Basically, it knows what makes a shonen satisfying, while leaving the worst of that sort of genre at the door, combining top-tier shonen action full of, well, loads of unique powers, stuff like that, and here's the unusual bit that was more the hook for me. It was a twist into horror via occult Japanese myth. And I think that's what really sets it apart and makes things more interesting. So it absolutely is one to watch in both meanings of the word. It's going to be huge, and you can actually get in on it right now by watching Season 1 on Crunchyroll. You'll be there from the start. It's got like an 8.72 in my anime list. That's a very high rating. You'll also, of course, get access to Crunchyroll's entire library of full 1080p anime, which does include anime currently airing in Japan, subbed as fast as an hour after release. Now, of course, they've got apps on just about every device under the sun, so you can watch whenever, wherever you want, and you know the deal, crunchyroll.com/Bellular. Go there, you'll get a 14-day free trial of Crunchyroll Premium, and you'll be able to watch a bunch of great shows. So, enjoy. Let's talk about Sargeras. In Warcraft, we were presented with two fundamental bad guys. We had the Void as the mysterious one, and then right in our face, the Burning Legion, led by Sargeras, who is the villain that loomed large over the setting. A barely mentioned shadowy figure, a demon lord, seemingly worshipped by the orcish invaders of Azeroth. But over time, we began to appreciate that he was so much more, that he was the architect of a legion burning a path through the universe. Then, when the Lich King landed and was within inches of conquering Azeroth, it all fed back to a Legion plan, ultimately headed by Sargeras. Then we heard all of those little smaller stories like Broxagar's final act of defiance. And all those things just made us think, damn, Sargeras, what would it ever be like if we saw him? For having most of his lore in throwaway lines and cliff notes, Sargeras really was an amazing, evocative bad guy. Not really because of who he was, but what he represented and how we came to understand him. He was that sort of big looming villain that you can only build slowly over many years. Now, Sargeras is all part of Zovaal's plan. All Sargeras did originates from the machinations of the Jailer's agents. Steve Denuser even said that Shadowlands patch 9.2 is the end of a book that started in Warcraft 3, and that much has been reinforced over the subsequent interviews that have came out. That really makes me wonder, what's Sargeras going to think when he finds out? We need to understand who Sargeras is first. Long ago, before the old gods came to Azeroth, world souls, shepherded by their first, Aman'Thul, began to awaken. They formed the Titan Pantheon, and they set about ordering the cosmos. But the cosmos, well, it was full of demons. And demons, beings of chaos, the complete opposite of order. Sargeras, the greatest warrior of these titans, began a crusade throughout the stars. But no matter the victories he won, the cosmos would just throw more demons at him. So he created the prison realm of Mardum as a stopgap, and he continued his crusade, fighting and imprisoning demons. That's when he found a planet consumed by something he did not recognize, Void. And upon this planet, he found these vampiric creatures called the Nathrazim. And these creatures informed Sargeras of the so-called truth of the Void. keep this meeting with the Nathrezim in mind, because it is the crux of a massive recontextualization of Sargeras' whole story. What Sargeras heard from these Nathrezim terrified him. It was worse than all the demons. This void was bent on consuming the whole universe, but to do that, this void needed to consume and infest life. Sargeras, already disheartened by all of these demons in the cosmos, slips into hopelessness and comes out the other end completely mad. He decided that the only way to defeat Void was scorched earth tactics. If the Void needed to consume life to expand, then Sargeras would simply deny it its fuel by wiping out all life. In his Burning Crusade, Sargeras warred against the forces of light, life, order, and void. But what about the forces of death? The key change to this story, a story that really is at the heart of our game, it came from a very easily missable journal within the Tower of the Unseen Guests in Revendreth. It contained a book called Enemy Infiltration Preface. And yeah, we're still waiting the rest of that book, funny enough, but what is in that document is some of the most fundamental lore that we have ever got. That's right, you didn't even need to go and buy this book in shops, it was in-game. This book was penned by the Nathrezim at the direction of their father, Sire Denathrius. It painted a picture of a cosmic war that isn't wholly organic, as it seemed to us, but instead is a lot more engineered by death. Blizzard had been hinting at this, at death being a bit mean, a bit extra nasty in Battle for Azeroth, and they did this through the ramblings of Unat and Il'gynoth, telling us that the Cunning Ones, the Nathrezim, kneeled before 6 masters but served only one. And of course we see these Nathrezim serving light, we see them serving void, we see them serving the Burning Legion, but the point is that in reality they truly serve death. They're double agents. The key to this conflict was turning one of the Titans away from order, Sargeras, and placing him at the head of a legion of disorder. So the disorder could then scour the cosmos clean of death's enemies. The document promised that the deceit architected in disorder would bear fruit in ages to come. And when you consider how well everything has gone for the Jailer, that seems to be holding up. It could particularly reference the Lich King project as well, which did seed a servant of the Jailer on Azeroth, and that eventually did lead to Sylvanas breaking the veil, opening the way for the Jailer. But in a more broad sense, Sargeras wiped the floor with most of the cosmic forces, and then we kind of wiped the floor with him, and then we locked the Titans away. That's a big win for Zovaal. All of this mystery and subterfuge was confirmed in patch 9.1, where we finally got to see the Nathrezim in the Shadowlands, where it was hard confirmed that they really do work for Zovaal, the Jailer. So, where does Sargeras fit into all of this? Well, he was the Titan placed at the head of disorder, forming the Burning Legion. The enemy infiltration document tells us that life and void are death's most intractable enemies. So, the Legion was pretty much there to take out 2 birds with 1 stone. This culminated in the Legion finale cinematic, where we see Sargeras be captured by the Pantheon. Being in the Shadowlands for so long, we also know the signs, the telltale signs of the Jailer's domination look. So, the Lich King armor was made by the Rune Carver. You can look at all the runes and the things on it to tell, it's pretty obvious. Now let's think about what domination runes look like. Here's some on the screen for you. Now, let's take a look at Sargeras' shoulders. So, the Dreadlords supplied the Lich King with the Lich King's armor at the behest of Sargeras, but they were actually double agents. So, did the Dreadlords supply Sargeras with some of his armor? Now, these runes here do feature on an uncorrupted Sargeras, so that is an interesting thing in itself. Canonically, the domination runes are of, the Primus's domination magic, or so we thought, because that's actually First One's magic, and it almost certainly originates from Zereth Mortis. which essentially is where the first ones 3D printed the Pantheon of Death. So is that where the Titans were also created? I mean, if you look close, you do actually see, well, this is uncorrupted Sargeras, a decently recent 3D model put in the game, and you can see that he does have runes, but they are a lot more angular than some of the Domination ones. Perhaps that lends credence to the Zovaal tomfoolery theory, if they are different. Now, if you look at his belt, you can see that really all other depictions of Sargeras don't have the skull on his belt. And that skull is seen in the Shadowlands, and it looks exactly like a Shadowlands Soul Eater. Regardless, it was Zovaal's agents that set Sargeras down his path. That much is essentially confirmed to my mind. This all, to borrow something I've said before, changes everything. At least for Sargeras, and probably for his jailer Illidan as well. We've now come to the key question. How much agency did Sargeras have in all of this? And boiling it down, what did it all mean? And how do we think about Sargeras? How's he going to think about himself? What will the future of this character be? I mean, the bloodshed, the war, the destruction at the hands of the Legion. It all ended up serving Zovaal more than it served Sargeras. For the most realistic read in the situation, I would say this. Sargeras was always on the path to go bad. We saw hints of this when we learned how disheartened he was when he realized he could never truly win a war against the demons. All those Nathrezim really did with their scheme was just nudge and point Sargeras in the right direction, the one Zovaal would have wanted him to go in. So basically here, I think the story for Sargeras broadly does stay the same, even before the times where we knew about the jailer. Where really it's just us and Sargeras, two sides, order versus chaos, sort of, in a big war for the destiny of Azeroth with some minor cosmic forces scheming in the background. A bit less Zovaal moving pieces on the board himself, and more him just kind of, nudging things a little bit. Now, you could go full wild here. You could argue that Zovaal very much directly set Sargeras on his path, and then subtly influenced him after that through the domination runes that you could say could be inscribed upon Sargeras' gear. Do that too much and I think it would feel like a betrayal to everything that we the players had invested in the character of Sargeras up till this point. And I think with community engagement ebbing at a historic low, Blizzard would be pretty smart to pull away from that read of things and really just do something a bit more reasonable. In fairness, I'm going to say that I think canonically it is more that Zovaal just nudged Sargeras and subtly influenced him, rather than, any sort of big direct mind control that would strip Sargeras of his agency as a character. But the one thing we do know is that undoubtedly, it is Zovaal's agents that set Sargeras down the ruinous path that he ended up going in. And there is quite a bit of evidence supporting this stuff. Think about the Lich King project. It was always described as being architected by the Nathrezim, but the way the original lore describes it, it seems the Nathrezim presented these sort of tools of domination to the Legion as basically another asset in their war to cleanse the cosmos. So the Nathrezim had to act the perfect Legion servants the whole time. Going back to Warcraft 3, Ner'zhul was intent on breaking away from the Legion from the very beginning. I mean, obviously, because he hated them. But now it seems, could he have been spurred on a bit by domination magic to a certain degree? Is that why they really did want him to be replaced with Arthas? And indeed, the whole Mal'Ganis taunting Arthas, that canonically is a plan by the jailer. We actually know that from a patch 9.2 developer interview. Still, even when we found Ner'zhul in the Sanctum, he was being tortured for not fully committing to the jailer's plan, and that really does make me think that domination was never total in that character. The same actually goes for Arthas as well, and Steve Denuser did confirm that to me personally in an interview, that the Lich Kings still did have varying degrees of free will, and that's actually why Anduin is totally dominated with no free will. So I think in this game, Sargeras had intent. He was still the antagonist who wanted us dead. He was still the hero of his own story, and we still did need to defeat the Legion if we were to have any hope of surviving. But all the while, in the background, the jailer's servants were working on their nefarious scheme. The big question for me then is, How much influence did the jailer have in Sargeras' end at the hands of course, us and the Titans? I mean, my character was in Antorus, you know, freed the Titans, put Argus out of his misery. So, I did the jailer's bidding. Because, I mean, you want the Burning Legion to take out all your enemies, and then you want the Burning Legion to be taken out. That leaves you with all the power, right? The big power vacuum. That's surely Zovaal's plan. So, did the jailer influence things such that Sargeras would make that move, such that all of that would happen? I mean, Argus clearly has a very important connection to the Shadowlands. It's one we still fully don't understand yet. But of course, Xalatath, or I believe it was Xalatath? Whatever it was, the line about the victory that went unnoticed. I mean, I can't help but feel that that was a victory for Team Zovaal. So with all of this pondering about the story, it comes to one final thing. The character of Sargeras. He's in prison, he's with Illidan, he's going to learn a whole bunch of things that he probably didn't know before. What's going to happen when he returns to the story? Sargeras is ready to turn a page on his existence, and no matter what's going to happen next, Sargeras will be a different guy. He will know that he was played. At the same time, Illidan will know that he was also a victim in the same scheme. Will Sargeras cringe himself into a new existence when he works out he was a bit of a patsy? Who knows? Patch 9.2 hopefully is going to reveal Zovaal's motivations. Maybe we'll know more. We'll probably learn of the broken cosmic system that the first ones created, that the Pantheons upheld, that Zovaal wants to destroy. Now, Sargeras, a rogue titan, probably knows a whole bunch of stuff. So he might be the perfect character to continue this kind of storyline, this plot thread of rebellion against the Makers. Either Sargeras, the neutral spooky man, or Sargeras, a new foe. So to the future, basically there you have it. Sargeras, whenever he returns, A, you can be damn sure that Illidan will be with him, and B, you can be damn sure that he is going to learn, grow, and change as a character. His legion has ended. He has now found out that actually Zovaal was involved in a whole bunch of stuff, that his dreadlords were actually playing him the entire time. He's going to be different. And I mean, hey, Illidan and Sargeras, what a duo they would be. I mean, eventually it could even become cool if Sargeras would be a character that we could have a conversation with. Maybe a character that could do a big evil monologue at us, or any of those fun things. Because he has been slowly built up and established, and that does mean that when he finally appears in the game, it could be an awesome moment. He's probably not going to be a good guy, but he could be somebody who's maybe going to realize it's time to play ball with the universe. I mean, hell, Sargeras would still make a brilliant villain, wouldn't he? So I'm sure that he can break his way out of prison, claim some new cosmic powers like the ones we've uncovered, and maybe slug out another round against us. Or it could be pretty different, and it could be us and Sargeras fighting the first ones. I don't know. I mean, I have no idea. Zereth Mortis will reveal a lot. But right now, when we concepted this video, we had one thing to answer. It was, how do we think about Sargeras now? And I think we basically know how we think about Sargeras now. I hope you found that to be interesting. I'd love to know what you want to happen next for Warcraft's original big looming villain. With that said, have a wonderful day. I'll see you next time.